The American group press longs to leap far ahead of government in reporting events ahead. That's why it hates to hide behind government to protect its rights of access and communication. The Soviet government, in particular, knows this well. It knows that American correspondents labored to report on Soviet rule long before Washington recognized its legitimacy. It knows that American reporters endured the indignities of censorship and police harassment to uphold a faith in free inquiry, not always admired in their own capital. It knows that the American press has been diligent in protecting its independence from American intelligence efforts. It knows that American editors often implored their government to overlook repression, even expulsion, so as to guard their Moscow outposts against tit-for-tat destruction. Bitter words must now be spoken because the Soviet government has expelled George Krimsky of the Associated Press on phony charges of espionage and currency violations. His real offense was in excessive interest in Soviet dissidents against whom the penalties of ostracism, impoverishment, imprisonment, and deportation seemed to be insufficient. And in response, a new American administration that already feels crowded by hardliners at home on arms control and in Russia on human rights, felt compelled to invoke the Helsinki Accords on free information and to expel a TASS correspondent in reprisal. Helsinki, Schmelsinki, we sadly endorse the American retaliation, but on the cruder ground that it is the only kind of message that the Soviet bureaucracy might heed. The Soviet secret police apparently remain free to decree the apparent expulsion of troublesome foreign writers, only if such action were always certain to trigger reprisal would Soviet diplomats and information officials also gain a voice. And then perhaps larger interests and wiser heads would prevent or prevail in Moscow. We despise this game. Our press prefers to fight its own battles, free of governments everywhere. But if the Russians truly understood that, their dissidents would not have to risk life and limb to slip furtive little notes under American reporters' doors. Once again, the quadrennial cry to abolish the Electoral College is heard in the land. The familiar argument is cited that the shift of a few thousand votes could have given Gerald Ford, who lost the populist vote, an Electoral College majority. But in reality, such a result has not occurred since 1888, when Benjamin Harrison edged out Grover Cleveland. In every modern election, no matter how close, the electoral result has paralleled the popular vote. This parallelism is no accident for a practical reason that seems to escape single-minded reformers. As election day approaches, voters pull away from third and fourth party candidates who clearly have no chance of winning an electoral college majority and make their choice between the major party candidates, apparently. The concentration of significant political choice inside the two-party system provides a profoundly important force for stability in our heterogeneous continental society. There are risks in abolishing the Electoral College and subverting the two-party system. The risks are at least as serious as the remote contingency that the popular vote loser might someday squeeze out an Electoral College victory. The apparent abolition proposal, sponsored by Senator Birchby of Indiana and others, would provide for a cutoff of the element. So, to convert the initial election into a dry run as or shakedown crews, it is easy to envisage the vote for minor party candidates, such as George Wallace in 1968, swelling to sufficient size to deny either party candidate the necessary 60%. The parties would become fractionalized and fragmented. There are modest changes that could serve to safeguard the Electoral College against mischief and manipulation. Over the years, individual electors have voted or threatened to vote contrary to the outcome of their status.